Let's jump right into it and start with the AL East. I have the Rays finishing last. I don't think this is a bad team, as they will be the best last place team in all of baseball by a wide margin. McClanahan is coming back, but is coming off Tommy John, which affects everyone differently. The lineup is not full of power, but we'll see what Caminero brings to the table. This team will be affected by their stadium situation and their schedule, as they play many home games early and then play most of their late season games on the road. This should really drag their performance when players are tired to begin with, and puts them at a lower win total than otherwise. I think they win in the mid-70s, but in this division, that's last. In fourth, I have the Blue Jays. I figured this team was set up for multiple runs a few years ago, and now since they botched up the Vlad Jr. situation so badly, the future is murky. Bad leadership showed forth when they did not extend Vlad Jr. a few years ago, and then also now by trying to blame him on why he did not get re-signed. I see no chance he re-signs, so unless they intend to just let him walk for free, I think he and others get traded at the deadline, making this team upper 70s in wins at best. I think the Santander signing was overrated, even though I like him as a player, and there's a lot of talent on this team, but with all the turmoil surrounding the future, I don't think this team gets by the distractions. In third, I have the Red Sox. I like this team a lot and the future talent that is coming, but I think the Bregman signing was a major misstep. Way too much for a player on the decline and takes away opportunities for top prospects. I don't agree with some that think he will opt out. Yes, the total dollars might be more, but they will have to be truly significant for him to opt out, as I don't think he opts out to take a $15 million per year pay cut over the first 2 years of that new contract. Garrett Crochet leads a rotation that will hinge on what you get from Walker Buehler and Lucas Giolito. If they both perform as they are capable, then this turns into a very strong rotation. The bullpen is what I see as a potential weakness, as Hendricks has not pitched full-time for a while now. I do like the Chapman pickup, though, and see the Red Sox with 86 wins. In second, I have the Orioles. A lot has been talked about with their starting pitching, but not much has been mentioned about the bullpen. I think this will be the big improvement over last year, as Felix Bautista is back to replace Craig Kimbrell, and the list of setup men include Cano, Aiken, Dominguez, and Kittredge, which was a great signing. I expect Grayson Rodriguez to take another step forward this year and become the ace. Morton, Kramer, and Sagano are all unknowns as to what you will get from them, but they're all capable of being a very solid 3-4-5. The lineup speaks for itself and is one of baseball's best from top to bottom. Look for Jackson Holliday to improve on last year, and Tyler O'Neill, if healthy, should replace Santander. I see Baltimore with 90 wins. Winning the AL East, I have the Yankees. The pickup of Max Fried and Luis Gil getting another year better makes this a great rotation. I understand Gil has the injury concern, but we'll see how that goes. The lineup, of course, loses Soto, but still has a lot of pop, and newcomer Jason Dominguez should grow into a solid hitter by year's end. Aaron Judge can and will carry an entire lineup and make those around him, especially Cody Bellinger, who I expect to bat in front of Judge, better. I think the bullpen could be a potential weak spot minus Devin Williams, but I don't think it will be any kind of real issue. I see the Yankees winning 93 games. Now to the AL Central, and it's to no one's surprise I have the White Sox last. I don't think they will be as bad as last year, since they are bringing up players from the minors that, yes, may be talent deficient, but they will play hard and give a shit, unlike, say, Yoan Moncada. Pitching leaves a lot to be desired, and the bullpen is atrocious, but Martin Perez was a great pickup due to a solid flip possibility at the trade deadline and should get some wins in the first half. The hitting was abysmal last year, but I see Benintendi, when he comes back, and Robert, while they still have him, bouncing back, and maybe even Andrew Vaughn improving to a decent middle-of-the-lineup hitter. I still think they probably end up with the worst record in baseball, although the Marlins might give them a run for their money. I see mid-50s in wins. In fourth, I have the Twins. Many have them as the favorite to win the division, and I just don't see it. The talent is there, but you can't trust it to stay on the field. I do like the 1, 2, 3 in the rotation with Lopez, Ryan, and Ober, but the 4 and 5 worry me. Good back end of the bullpen with Jackson Duran. So like I said, talent is there, but I just can't trust it. Sometimes knuckleball will be a knucklehead, so I could be very wrong about this fourth place prediction. I see the Central as a close race with 4 teams competing, but the Twins falling off like they did last year. I see them with 81 wins. In third are the Guardians. I think they are in for a fairly steep drop-off compared to last year, as losing Naylor and Jimenez will have a huge effect. I know Carlos Santana had a good year last season, but he is almost 39 years old with a drop-off waiting to happen. The starting pitching is very weak in my opinion outside BB. Obviously, the bullpen is one of the best, anchored by the best in Class A. So this team looks like it will be very similar to last year's team in that Jose Ramirez and the bullpen will have to carry it, but with the aforementioned losses and even weaker starting pitching, I think they backtrack significantly and wind up with 83 wins. I have the Tigers finishing second, led by Tariq Skubal, who I expect to have another Cy Young caliber season, and Jackson Jobe, who I could see competing for Rookie of the Year. Throw in Casey Mize, who I think might be getting slept on since he struggled a bit last year, but he is now further removed from Tommy John surgery, so the rotation is definitely a strong suit. I would have liked the lineup to have one more big power bat in the middle, but I think it's adequate with Green, Carpenter, and Colt Keith. I feel the same for the bullpen as it's adequate, and it has bright spots, but could have used one more big arm. I do like the addition of Tommy Kahnle, but it was not enough to move the needle for the pen. The team competes for a division title but comes up a win or two short with 85 wins. I have the Royals winning the division. Very balanced team from top to bottom. Bobby Witt Jr. is an MVP candidate and will be even better this year with Jonathan India batting in front of him and Salvi Perez batting behind. I also expect MJ Melendez to take a step forward, making this lineup better than what people are crediting it for. I have a little fear about the back end of the rotation, but Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, and Michael Wacha are a great 1-2-3. I love the pickup of Estevez, making the back of the bullpen lock down with Urseg. They might need one more arm down the stretch, or I expect them to get at the trade deadline. I'm very high on this team and expect them to pull ahead in a tough possible four-way division battle and win 87 games. Moving to the AL West, I have the Angels finishing last. The season for them will come down to how many games Mike Trout plays. If he plays less than 100, as I think he will, the Angels will struggle to stay below 100 losses. If Trout plays 150 games, then I could see them making it to the mid-70s in wins. The lineup does have some other bright spots like Taylor Ward and Logan O'Hoppe, but they can't carry the offense. The pitching is way too weak with Kikuchi as the ace when he is really a 3 or a 4, and Hendricks and Detmers as the 4 and 5 when on 90% of other teams, they could not even crack the rotation. I do like the pickup of Kenley Jansen and pairing him with Ben Joyce in the pen. Problem is the rest of the bullpen is fairly weak, so I think the Angels finish in last by quite some distance. They will win 67 games. Finishing in fourth are the Athletics. This is a much improved team with the additions of Severino and Springs in the rotation. The lineup has some bright spots with Brent Rooker, Lawrence Butler, and Shane Langoliers, but it's still not high-powered enough to compete for a division title. Great back end of the bullpen with Leclerc and Mason Miller, but I feel like that's what this team is. A few really great talents in the lineup, rotation, and bullpen, but not enough talent from top to bottom to make noise. I have them as upper 70s in wins. And third, I have the Mariners. I believe any one of the top three teams could win the division, but I rank the Mariners with the least chance of those three for obvious reasons. They can't hit for shit. The lineup is too full of swing for the fences or strikeout players when they play half their games in a stadium where it's difficult to clear the wall. The pitching is obviously great, and it does say something when Luis Castillo is your weakest starter, but as like last year, hitting, or should I say lack thereof, does them in, and they finish third in a tight division race with 83 or so wins. In second, I have the Astros, as this is finally the year where they get dethroned from the division crown, as it's been 10 years minus the COVID season since they last didn't win it. Losing Tucker, Presley, and to a lesser extent Bregman will hurt, but I do like their return for Tucker, as Paredes should play well in that park along with Wisniewski as the 5 for now, and he has potential to grow. Back end of the bullpen is still strong with Hader and Abreu, and the top of the rotation can still be lights out with Valdez. The real question will be, how much is this lineup going to drop off? I see them hanging around and fighting for a division title, but ultimately coming up short with 84 wins. I have the Texas Rangers as the AL West champions. I love this lineup as I expect bounce-back year from Marcus Semien in conjunction with Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter taking the next step. I'm very concerned about the Adolis Garcia oblique injury, but as of filming, there's not yet any detail on the severity of that injury. The addition of Jake Berger is solid, even though he is a home run or bust guy, but he fits nicely into the lineup and is still a dangerous hitter that potentially could hit 30 home runs. I do have some worries about the pitching as the bullpen is completely revamped, meaning it could be a smash hit or it will be smash hit. Evaldi and DeGrom are a nice one too, but their health is always a concern. I'm a fan of Kumar Rocker, and I don't see it long before he is up and contributes significantly to the success of this team. I see them with 87 wins by season's end. Moving to what will be the most exciting division in baseball, I have the Marlins finishing last in the NL East. There's not a lot of talent here minus Sandy Alcantara. There are some intriguing young players, namely Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers, both of which were had for a 2-9 pitcher at the time, but I digress. The highlight of the year for the Marlins and their fans will be when Davidson De Los Santos gets playing time. He has big-time power and will at least be a reason to pay attention to the Marlins. I see them getting crushed this year besides the lack of talent because almost 1/4 of their schedule is against the Braves, Mets, and Phillies. I see a win total in the mid-50s. In fourth, I have the Nationals. This team is close, but just needs some more development before they compete. Their lineup is underrated with Abrams, Cruz, Wood, Lowe, and Bell as the top 5. There are no slouches there as long as Dylan Cruz develops a little more and Josh Bell does not drop off. Minus Trevor Williams, they have a young rotation that should be better than last year. I like that they brought Kyle Finnegan back to the pen and give some time for big arm Jorge Lopez to learn the closer role. This team is better than what people think, but they will suffer from what was mentioned with the Marlins, where their schedule is not friendly to them due to their division foes. I see 74 wins. I have the Mets as third. The lineup is one of the best in baseball. I think Lindor will lead the league in runs scored. Soto will have another great year, although not as numerically high as last year, as Citi Field is tougher to hit in the Yankee Stadium. Pete Alonso might eclipse 40 home runs, and Vientos will be hitting often with runners on, at least the times Pete doesn't crush one out. The problem is the rotation. This is too weak in my opinion to go battle the Braves and Phillies, and then top it off with Montas and Minaya will start the year on the injured list. I don't see either pitching the first 3 weeks of the season, and Montas will be more like a month as lat strains are tough for a pitcher. Picking up A.J. Minter was huge, though, so I'm very high on the back end of the bullpen. The Mets might have to be a team that hangs in there for the first 6 innings, and then the offense keeps hitting while their opponents get shut down. I think 88 wins sounds about right. In second place, I have the Phillies. I think this is one of the best teams in all of baseball, but they just play in a division where they are second best. I do see a little bit of a drop-off compared to last year, as I don't expect Bohm to have the first half that he did last year, and that will protect Bryce Harper less. The rotation is amazing, though, and gives the Dodgers a run for their money as the best. Any one of their starting 5 could be the ace on certain teams. They picked up Romano as the closer, which I see as a boom or bust move, as we don't know how the injury from last year will affect him, but he has the ability to be elite. The rest of the bullpen has good arms, but is a step down from last year in my opinion. I see 90 wins. Winning the NL East, I have the Braves. I feel this is the most complete team in the division with excellent top-end starting pitching, strong lineup, and solid pen. Add in the signing of Jurickson Profar, which was one of the offseason's best moves, and Spencer Strider returning at some point, along with Acuna, and you have a juggernaut that is not quite Dodgers level, but extremely good. The real question mark will be how well those guys return from injury and how long it takes them to return to form. If Strider comes back and is 90% of his past self, that would be more than enough with Sale, Lopez, and Schwellenbach to have a dominant rotation. This team had near everything go wrong last year and still won 89 games. If luck is on their side this year, then they could knock on the door of 100 wins, even in this tough division. I see 95 wins as a more likely possibility. Going to the NL Central, I have the Cardinals finishing last. I think this is the one team more than any other that is being overrated in predictions that I have seen. This team is on the cusp of a rebuild, so the little talent that they have left will soon be out the door. Arenado is in his declining years, and I hate to say it, but Sonny Gray might join him as well starting this season. The rest of the starters leave a lot to be desired, as Eric Fetty has only pitched well for half a season, and backing him are Mikolas, Palante, and Matz. I see some potential 5 ERA starters here, and that does not win you many games. The bullpen is decent, but will look a lot worse once they trade Helsley, which I believe they should have done already, but are probably waiting for the deadline to do so. I see a lot less wins than many others, somewhere around 65. I have the Pirates in fourth. I would be absolutely irate if I were a Pirates fan. I am one, but they are not my main team, so I can only feel your frustration so much. Such a unique opportunity here with Skeens and Jones to build around, and yet they don't do jack shit to make the team better. I did like the trade for Horwitz initially, but wrist injuries can be chronic, so this is a potential disaster. The bullpen is one of the weakest in the league, in my opinion, and was last year too, and now subtract Aroldis Chapman. David Bednar will have to be much better this year for this team to have any chance. Lineup is so-so because the big acquisition of the offseason was Tommy Pham. Not going to cut it, and plenty of good players in there like O'Neill Cruz and Brian Reynolds, but they are not stars like what's needed for this team to take the next step. I see another repeat year and another year of Skeens wasted at 75 wins. In third, I have the Reds. This team is maybe the biggest wild card in the entire league. I don't mean that as they are a wild card team, but that they have the largest range of win possibility. The talent is there on the roster with Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McLean, and Spencer Steer, but they have not put it together collectively. Many believe new manager Tandy Francona will spring this team to new heights. I like Hunter Green and the trade for Brady Singer, from a pitching perspective anyway, but the rest of the starters need to take the next step. Lodolo and Abbott have bright futures in my opinion, but are they ready to notch it up a level? I don't know, and the bullpen seems to be a constant question mark year in and year out. Francona will help with managing that pen, but will it be enough? I think they have a chance of being the surprise team, but I still pick them in third with 82 wins. I have the Brew Crew finishing second. I mentioned the Cardinals as the team I thought everyone was overrating. I think this is the team everyone is underrating. Too many projections out there with only 80 or 81 wins, and I don't see that kind of drop-off. Yes, they lost Adames and Devin Williams, but on the Williams side of things, they only had him for half a year, and the Brewers always seem to have good bullpen arms, as they do this year, with McGill, Koenig, Payamps, and Hudson. The starters are actually better than what they ran out there last year when they won 93 games. When Brandon Woodruff comes back, projected to be in May, they will have a rotation of Freddie Peralta, Woodruff, Tobias Myers, Nestor Cortez, and Jose Quintana. That's not bad at all, and the lineup does get back Yelich, who had a great first half last year before the back injury, along with Churio, who could be an MVP candidate. Don't forget Wilson Contreras as well, who's been hitting extremely well the last few years. Add in possible improvements from Joey Ortiz, Bryce Terang, and Sal Frelick, and this lineup could be one of the best under-the-radar lineups in baseball. I see 86 wins. I have the Cubs winning the division. I actually thought this before the Tucker trade, as this team has a lot of talent, but they have underperformed for the last few years, and I believe this is a season where many of them overperform, including Dansby Swanson and Ian Happ. I expect Pete Crow Armstrong to have a breakout season. Add all of that up with putting Tucker on top, and this will be a dangerous lineup. The rotation is underrated in my opinion, since Imanaga and Steele are a great 1-2, and Tyon at 3 is better than most think. I think the Matthew Boyd pickup was decent, and signing Colin Ray for $5 million was a great insurance policy. I still think the bullpen could be its shortcoming, but it's better than it was last year with the trade for Ryan Presley and Ryan Brazier from the Dodgers. They might throw Ben Brown into a setup role too, which could wind up working out nicely. I see the Cubs with 94 wins. For the NL West, it's no shock I have the Rockies finishing last. No one in the starting five jumps off the page, and that would even be true if they pitched at sea level. The bullpen has an arm or two that could develop into something in Halverson and Peralta, but overall it's weak, mostly due to where they play. Tovar is a great talent and the reason to watch the Rockies, but there isn't much else to write home about. Ryan McMahon is decent, but if he played in a normal park, I don't think he would even be mentioned as a threat in the lineup. The most intriguing part of this team might be guessing what injury will prevent Chris Bryant from playing this year. I think they do win upper 50s in games only because they play well at home and should at least win 35 games at Coors. I have the Giants finishing fourth. This will be a fan base that will be disappointed by year's end. I don't see the potential that some see, as the big free agent signing of Willy Adames is nice, but overstated. His numbers will naturally come way down playing in San Francisco, so his impact will be lessened. The last Giants player to hit 30 homers in a year was Barry Bonds in 2004, and I see that streak continuing. I'm not high on Justin Verlander, and I don't think he has anything left in the tank, and Robbie Ray is an injury concern. The bullpen is adequate, but not good enough to handle the big dogs in the division. I see a similar year to last year where they win 79 games. In third, I have the Padres. This is probably the last run this team has due to all the large, soon-to-be, if not already, underwater contracts, and I think they come up well short. Dylan Cease will be traded sometime this year, and Michael King could be as well, which would only leave Darvish and Pivetta for the stretch run. The rotation now is pretty good 1 through 4, but they won't all be in San Diego at year end. Losing Profar from the lineup will be huge, and replacing him with Hayward is a big step down. Bogarts is really going to have to improve from 2024 to avoid a drop-off from this offense. The bullpen is good, still having Robert Suarez and Jason Adam, but losing Tanner Scott is huge. I see them regressing from last year considerably and having 84 wins. In second, I have the Diamondbacks. This team could be a top 5 team in all of baseball, but they're being overshadowed by the Dodgers. The Corbin Burns signing was fantastic, pairing him with Zach Gallen. The rest of the rotation is not shabby either, with Kelly, Rodriguez, and Fat. Many don't know the Diamondbacks scored the most runs in all of baseball last year, and they don't look like they will slow down in 2025. They did lose Christian Walker, which is a big deal both offensively and defensively, but they did replace him the best they could with Josh Naylor. That will be a step down in defense from Walker's high standard, but the offense from the first base spot should even out. I see this lineup again being one of the best, and factoring Corbin Carroll had a bad first half last year, which I doubt will happen this year. Back of the bullpen is strong with Martinez, Puck, Ginkel, and Thompson. This is a very good team top to bottom that I have at 90 wins, but if the Dodgers weren't in their division, I would have them closer to 95 wins. To no one's surprise, I have the Dodgers winning the NL West. This team is stacked top to bottom with the best lineup in baseball, best bullpen in baseball, and when Ohtani returns as a starting pitcher, possibly sometime in May, they will have the best rotation in baseball. There are injury concerns with starting pitching, but they have Dustin May and Bobby Miller as potential replacements, along with Gonsolin once Ohtani returns. The bullpen is one of the deepest I've seen with Trianon, Scott, and Yates, and is so good that they had to get rid of Ryan Brazier just to make room for everyone. The lineup speaks for itself with Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman at the top, and they added Conforto, who I think will have a big year. They will be first or second in runs scored with the Diamondbacks. I think this team has a chance of breaking the win record, albeit a slight chance, but they have to get off to a hot start, which they haven't been doing in recent years. I have them winning 110 games. Moving on to the playoffs, let's start with the American League. I have the Yankees as the 1 seed, Texas gets the 2, and Royals as a 3 seed. The wildcard teams will be the Orioles as the 4, Red Sox as the 5, and Tigers as the 6th. I believe the ALCS will be between the Yankees and the Royals, with the Royals prevailing. I like their balance of pitching, speed, and defense. Add in Bobby Witt Jr. plus a trade at the deadline that really helps them, and they represent the American League in the World Series. In the National League, I have the Dodgers as the 1 seed, Braves as the 2, the Cubs get the 3. The wildcard teams will be the Phillies as the 4, the Diamondbacks as the 5, and the Mets as the 6th seed. I was a little torn on the NLCS on whether it would be Dodgers versus Braves or Dodgers versus Cubs, but I'm going to go with Dodgers versus Cubs, with the Dodgers winning the pennant. I think many people are putting the Dodgers championship odds too high, as anything can happen in a playoff series, and they could lose any series they are in. I do see them navigating back to the World Series, though. For the World Series, I have the Royals beating the Dodgers. I know this is a hot take and one that could make me look like a knucklehead by year end, but I really believe in the Royals this year and think everyone is sleeping on them since they did not get a bat for the lineup. I think they have enough now, assuming Pasquantino gets a little better and Melendez breaks out. The pitching and back-end bullpen are there. Anything can happen in a series, so I'll go out on a limb here and say the Royals are the ones to dethrone the Dodgers. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Please leave your opinions in the comments below on what you think will happen this year and where I'm wrong. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, as I'll have videos dropping shortly including best bets, awards predictions, best lineups, bullpens, and rotations, a preseason bowl predictions video, and also weekly power rankings. Thank you for watching to the end, and until next time, happy baseball.